innovation topics, artificial intelligence, big data science. Okay, if people are new to the show, go right ahead. Lots of your friends like listening to this stuff on LinkedIn all over. Please, when it comes to this topic, let's start chipping away at it and giving people the right topics to think about. Today, artificial intelligence and big data science. Explain what that is.
Yeah. So um, on the last show, we sort of went through the advantages, and so I think it's important to start with some stats. So like you said, right now the global AI book of business, $196 billion. 2026 it's going to be $299 billion. If you look at the big companies that are in AI, like if you look at Nvidia, 5-year return is over 2,700%. Microsoft 5-year return over 215%. But really, if you look, artificial intelligence applications comes in a whole host of things. Like if we look outside healthcare, for example, some of the artificial intelligence applications, advanced web searches such as Google search, recommendation systems such as YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, interacting with human speech, Google Assistant, Siri, Alexa, autonomous vehicles, Waymo. And it's interesting because living in Arizona, it's kind of odd and strange to see these Waymos because they're cars traveling around and they do not have a driver. But if you look at the generative and creative tools, Chat GPT, that's exploding. If you look at AI art, but in the last segment, we really went through some of the advantages. And if we look at specifically in healthcare, it's really around three things. One is how it can improve diagnostics and precision medicine. Number two is how can we streamline administrative tasks and workflow? And number three, how do we enhance research and development? Because I must say that as I transition into my new role in the coming months as the Chief Medical Officer of Honor Health Medical Group and the Associate Dean of Clinical Faculty Affairs at the new Arizona State University Medical and Engineering School, AI is going to play a huge role. For example, in 1950, medical knowledge doubled every 50 years. 1950, medical knowledge doubled every 50 years. If you look at today, 2024, medical knowledge doubles every 73 days. Medical knowledge doubles every 73 days. This year, there's going to be over 1.5 million peer-reviewed biomedical journal articles annually. And so if you look at the scope of things, there is so much information in healthcare. It's how do we sort of sift through that information and make sense of it? Because I think the important thing with healthcare is how we can use AI to better diagnose, develop therapies, enable a more personalized approach and treatment so that we can improve outcomes, increase patient safety, reduce human errors, and reduce cost.
How much can outcomes be improved on with the advent of all of this technology that's coming? Is it going to be hugely substantial? I mean, you were just talking about how there's so many articles published, and it's like that's got to help a lot. But what just a ballpark percentage that this can help change healthcare, make people live longer, give people that are transitioning in their life to perhaps the retirement zone? What can they expect?
Sure. I don't think there's an exact percentage, but I think what AI does, it's more of a clinical decision support, predicting, like how one can use AI algorithms to analyze imaging data, biomarkers, wearable. This could all lead to a more accurate, faster differential diagnosis. Because really what it does, it's with all this big data, is how you can predict things prior to them happening. Like for uh, one example that I'll give is mental health. Mental health disorders is really important. And so how can we identify patients that have a variety of mental health disorders based on perusing their electronic medical record, the biomarkers, their sleep patterns, the physical activity, variation in heart rate, respiration, cognitive state. And then how do you sort of use all that data to manage and personalize treatment? How you can predict a response, for example, what meds will be more helpful, how to prevent relapse, how to maintain continued support, and how to prognosticate outcomes. So I don't think there's an exact number yet, but I think what it does is you can predict disease sooner, so you can manage and treat things sooner, and ultimately allow one to live a better quality of life.
By having these tools in your toolbox, this is what you're talking about, right? This is where we
Mhm.
can identify, hey, we need to manage this a little better. We got, you know, there's heat coming down. We got to get this taken care of here, like today.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, humans can process information, but what AI do, you can process information supremely. So really super fast. And and so it's really is so if you use your diabetes or obesity example, is if because right now physicians uh have in the old days we used to spend more time with patients. These days, the whole healthcare system's changing, so you have less time. But if you can use AI with some of these personalized metrics, you may be able to come to a differential diagnosis quicker, save time, and then so that save time, you could be a better doctor. You can show more compassion. You can spend some more time. And so what it sort of does, it predicts a disease process sooner. But it's amazing because I think with all this personalized medicine and big data, the genomics and uh, protein studies, it really gets back to for example, if you have high blood pressure or you have diabetes, there's a whole host of medications that you can use, but based on your gene pattern or protein pattern or your pattern, you may be able to predict that this medicine is best for you, contrary to other medicines. So it can really specialize and pinpoint treatments better. But really, just hearing you, I think what it does, it saves time. So quicker diagnosis, quicker differential diagnosis, saving time, so you can be a doctor and help people, listen, show compassion.
Tony, you wanted to talk about the disadvantages a little bit. We've talked about that somewhat. You just explained the three key things in disadvantages, and there are lots of advantages. But go ahead, let's jump right into the meaty topic here, and explain to everybody what they should expect.
Yeah. So uh, even though there's lots of advantages, there's lots of positive, and I personally think the advantages outweigh the uh, disadvantages. Uh, but I think the major one, I think that people are more concerned about is how do you monitor this tool or technology? How, how does it influence one's behavior? Can it form into this super intelligence? Can you create a superhuman that has no ethics and no barriers? Could you develop this AI design machine system that can control one's individual thoughts, emotions, and behavior? But I think if we sort of break it down to the infrastructure and then the non-infrastructure, what I mean by the infrastructure, because as AI becomes more prominent, the electricity needs are going to go way up. People are predicting up to 20% more electricity needs. And so if you think about what's happening now in the world and in our nation, and the elections, fossil fuels, hydropower, wind power, solar power. So
Nuclear.
nuclear power, right? And so how can we create these increased electricity needs? The other important thing for the infrastructure is a lot of these machines get hot. And so how do you cool them? And so the water involved, the cooling, and so even though there's a lot of advantages, some of the infrastructure that I think we really have to think through more is the electricity needs.
What does that mean with the image guidance systems and the spine surgery and the robotics that are all of these tools? Do you have to get additional training? I mean, how it just doesn't happen automatically. What's the process for you as a physician, as a surgeon? Is it something that is supremely complicated?
Yeah, so when I trained in neurosurgery in the 1990s, minimally invasive surgery was just coming about. And I must say that image guidance system, it's like having a GPS system. And when I started my training in the early 1990s and mid 1990s, these systems were just beginning to um, come out. But now, if you look 25 years later, 30 years later, these actually image guidance systems that we use in the operating room for specific brain surgery or spine surgery are really ensure patient safety. For example, because if you have a brain tumor in an eloquent area of your brain, using sort of a pencil prior to the operation, you can input certain markings on your scalp. And then during the operation, using sort of a GPS system, you can use a sort of a pencil or a wand. You can specifically identify where things are. And so, for example, in the old days, you used to just measure things out. And you do sort of things where things were. You had to make a pretty big hole in the skull to get where you're going. Now, with these image guidance systems, especially with brain surgery, you can make smaller holes in the skull. And that sort of leads to a whole host of things: less surgery time, less brain retraction. But if you look at spine, it's really changed the way that we do spine surgery and train residents. Because if we're putting screws and plates in the spine to hold things together, using sort of a GPS system, you can sort of place these screws and plates in exact places. And in the old days, when you didn't have these things, doing them freehand, it was not as accurate. And so it's really changed uh, the way that we actually do things. But I think as we go from open neurosurgery, big operations to minimally invasive, the complications come way, way down. Yeah.
Tony, I need a takeaway. I got a minute left. What's a takeaway from this Innovation 2 episode that we did? What do you want to leave people with?
Yeah, the important thing is to have an open mind because AI is going to play a really important role, not just in healthcare, but in all aspects of life, finances, business. And I think really having an open mind and thinking through, being thoughtful about it, but also realizing that even though the advantages are great, there are disadvantages that we oftentimes don't think about. And I think the one big thing is as AI gets bigger, how are we going to get the electricity?
I love doing the performance living stuff so much. It's like just makes me want to just get fired up and go. I mean, it's so good. It's so awesome. And Tony Avellino is such a great resource for us, everybody. Dang, it's so great. And I appreciate Tony so much. Check out all his episodes, check out all of our episodes. And I want to say thank you to everyone who does listen, watch, subscribe to our channel, all these things. It's so important and it's so good. And we will talk to you next week, everybody. I am Papa Tom, and we will talk to you again on the flip side. Until then, love y'all, everybody. Peace out. Have a great week.